It has three. Well, no. The one I think. Okay. We're on the- Okay, so I can try. Do you need a signature?
That's the elevator.
That's
And
different.
that's Carol.
Oh, perfect. Hello.
Up to. Okay.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, October 16th at 6:30. It is 6:39 PM. I'm calling the Laws and Rules Committee meeting to order. In attendance, we have Alderman Rennie Scott Childress, Alderwoman Mickens, Alderman Dennison, Alderwoman Pasty, and guest Alderman Michael Tierney, Corporation Counsel Matt Jankowski, City Planner Sue Cahill, Fire Chief Ray, and Julia. So first thing on the agenda is the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan adoption. The agenda says Mayor Noble, but he's not able to be here tonight, but in his place. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
We can just share a screen. Okay.
Okay, welcome. We're here tonight to present the revised edition of our plan, which is only part of the plan for Ulster County. So it's kind of twofold. One, we did the entire city develop a plan, disaster for the plan for the city itself. And then moved into the counties and we updated all the information in the county's part. And then added it will be added to the county when they're doing their update. So it's like a two-part plan. The most important one is the comprehensive emergency management plan. Pretty much this is for the city. This is dealing with the city itself. You already talked, whatever you want to have an explanation on or to table contents, or what do you want to, how do you want to do it?
I just have kind of a clarification question. There were two documents basically. And one of the covering letters says that one of them follows FEMA requirements. Is that true for both of them or just the second one?
Just the Ulster County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation.
That's the second, okay.
So the county is updating the plan that they have every 5 years.
Mhm.
As part of their plan, each municipality has its own section, and that's called an annex. So the City of Kingston Annex is the part that's relevant to us. Chief Ray and I participated for a year with the Ulster County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan team and Tetra Tech. And we provided our update for our municipality. In order for that addendum, that annex, to be part of the entire plan, and in order for that plan to provide us options to get FEMA funding, FEMA hazard mitigation funding, we have to adopt our annex within 1 year of FEMA's determination of it becoming approvable pending adoption.
Okay.
It was determined to be approvable pending adoption about a month ago. So we have a year, preferably now, we have technically a year to adopt the entire plan and specifically our annex. Then if it is adopted with that specific resolution, which Alderman Scott Childress is referencing, that resolution for the Ulster County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan with very specific language to what FEMA is requiring. What if you all adopt that resolution, we send that to the county sends it to Department of Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security sends it to FEMA accepts it, and at that moment, we are then eligible for FEMA hazard mitigation assistance funding if we have next time we have an emergency. If we choose to not adopt it, we would not be eligible for that funding. That is all separate than our comprehensive emergency management plan, which is not FEMA regulated. It is our own plan with our own, we followed a standard outline that's suggested by, National Incident Management Command, but it is not required. It is not, does not automatically enroll us in anything. We don't have to, we're choosing to do this.
So I have a question. What is the relationship between our existing plan and the one that goes to FEMA, the annex? They're in alignment clearly, but that one has to have different information that's specifically required by FEMA, whereas our plan doesn't.
Correct.
Okay.
Default to you, but, so the annex, the county, the Ulster County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. We did some of the same work, and actually a lot of it does overlap. So we had to identify critical facilities, we had to identify specific hazards, ordinances, codes, all different plans and things, and that's all spelled out in that annex. We worked with probably 10 relevant departments on that process. Planning, DPW, water department, fire, police, every different department. And all of that outlines on a county level, they ranked our hazards and all different sorts of things, but it doesn't go into such specific specificities as our comprehensive emergency management plan does. Our plan goes through exactly what kind of chain of command there would be in the city of Kingston, exactly what type, whose responsibilities are what public services we would be providing, how that actually happens, what our command system is, what our response is, what our risk reduction is. They are complementary.
Okay. But there's no contradiction between.
Oh, there's no, no.
Okay, yeah, that was just my.
This is our piece of the puzzle.
Now, here's a question. It's my second question, sorry. Since this is a countywide plan that we're looking at, let's say there was some incident that affected the entire county. If every community hasn't signed up, does that impact the money that would then come to the county? Or is it, how do they relate the various annexes for each of the different communities?
By the adoption of our annex qualifies the city of Kingston for funding.
Okay,
The lack of resolution to adopt other municipalities' annexes disqualifies them, but doesn't
disqualify us.
disqualify. Our adoption is not contingent on everyone else's adoption.
Okay,
If we adopt it, we get the money. If no one else adopts it, they get nothing. We still get the money.
okay.
Were there significant alterations in the update?
Of our, just the city. We took a 2009 plan and we basically really gave it the meat and potatoes we put into it. Meaning that we have flow charts for if it's a flood, if it's electric, a storm, if it's snow, if it's rain, lose of power to the whole site of the city. We spelled out a lot from the generic plan, the 2009 plan, and identified who's in charge. For if it's a WMD, police is in charge, or the IC, the incident commander. So we spelled that out in different scenarios that we thought the city would be involved in. Other scenarios we didn't, meaning a wildland fire. Can't get wildland fire, cities don't have it. But and then we really broke it out on one of the biggest things that I've been around. I got the 93 plan in here. I've been around a few years, but one of the things we always lack, and we came up with it, and we had great support from all the departments. We lack having a inventory of everybody's equipment that we can have at the EOC, which is Emergency Operations Center. And we lacked that, and it was so. How did we ever lack that? We just went on memory of how many dump trucks, or we're asking, if an incident occurs, how many combs do you have? For the DPW, how many combs do you have? How many of this, how many of that type of thing? Now we have this, that's in our plan, and, but, we can go to the paper, we can go to the binder here and look it up. Like the thing, we identified the EOC where it is, how we're gonna give people, we identified how we're gonna communicate to the public, what forms of media we're gonna use to identify our identity, to inform the public of what we're doing, what's closed, what's open, so forth and so on, who to call. So we really took the plan, took a hard look at it, spent months on it to come up with everything, and, pretty much we feel, and I feel, been here a while, that, this plan now, and if the city, adopts it, and we institute it when we have an incident, or at the next incident, I should say, that, things will go a lot smoother, information will get out to the public a lot quicker in different forms, so the public will be informed, instead of the public turning on, going down the street, all of a sudden running to a roadblock. What's that, why is that, so forth like that, when's it gonna open again, and so forth. So it's comprehensive, if you get a chance to flip through it, we just have everything there that we need. The EOC, where it's located and so forth, and to back up to the EOC, we chose to, on the reports of what it has to offer, the building that it has to offer, and so forth, and actually, the new firehouse across the street, one of the rooms will be dedicated as the EOC. It's a lot bigger than what we use right now, because we used to use a firehouse, as it. But it'll be a lot bigger, but also be set up with IT, we'll set it all up, so all city people will come in with their laptops, plug in, be generator powered, and then you get right onto the city's website, and
Nice.
we can communicate that way.
Michael?
So when we do have the new firehouse, will you have to resubmit these plans for federal approval?
No, well, the address is different. We have right now identified, the EOC is now 19 East O'Reilly Street. So it'll be changed to 25 DPW. Across the street, the address is, but that's, and ours gets updated once a year. So once a year for ours, we'll meet again as a group and go through it. The phone numbers will change, people in charge may change and so forth. But we would do that.
Just as a reference, the 1993 plan was like 4 pages long and was adopted. And then the 2009 plan was probably 20 pages long, was not adopted. So the most recently adopted city plan was 1993. And clearly the new plan is much more comprehensive. I will also just mention, Mr. Chief is discussing things like the emergency equipment list. We also put together emergency contact list so that everyone has all those contacts, and also a critical facilities list. Those 3 lists are not public. Those are redacted from the plan. They are circulated internally. But things like critical facilities, our emergency equipment, and emergency contacts are not public in the plan.
Okay. So in terms of communications, because the demographics have changed so much since the earlier plan that this is, sort of takes from, are there any provisions for Spanish-speaking individuals? How do you notify them? How do you communicate with them?
That's going through KNY. Through KNY, we'll have that, we can put it out on Facebook,
Okay.
using Facebook that way. We've done a lot of research, a lot of thought put into it, and who we can, and probably gonna get, partner up with KNY. We partnered up with them, and get them into the loop. We knew a lot of Spanish speaking people do listen to that radio channel, so.
And then just
Just elaborate on that. There's a whole section on public warning and emergency information.
Yeah.
And it goes through the different automated systems that we have access to, like New York Alert, NOAA Radio, emergency alert system. And we establish like emergency service, vehicles with sirens, door-to-door public warnings, city officials, working with schools and other places, special arrangements for warnings for the hearing impaired and non-English speaking population groups. And there will be a public information officer for any major event, and that public information officer is the person that would be making all of the communications.
Gotcha.
Probably would be Summer, but not necessarily. And then there would be a joint information center also, where like we would be communicating with the county and, you know, the utilities and all the different departments.
Right.
So that's all outlined in here.
Okay. And then just one other question. Does flooding remain the highest hazard?
Is one of the highest, yeah. Severe storm.
It's the
Right
first one.
alongside of it, yeah.
Okay.
We did rerun a hazard analysis. The more recent one was from 2006. And then we ran another hazard analysis called the Municipal Emergency Preparedness Analysis. And we did re-rank all the different hazards. Because, here it is.
And when was that
This was done in 24.
Okay.
So, we basically categorized all of our risks, and gave them a score from like 3.4 down to 1.3. And the highest are water infrastructure contamination, rail bridge failure, mass casualty incident, dam failure, hazard materials in transit, that would be like a bomb train, train. Severe winter storm, pandemic, epidemic, and hurricane tropical storm. And some of these, like a rail bridge failure, which we think will never happen, is listed high because how catastrophic it may be.
Right.
But other things on here, like go all the way down to, you know, water infrastructure, cyber attack, air quality compromised, flooding, biological agent release, sinkholes, active shooters, terrorism, drought, civil disobedience, utility failure, structural collapse, earthquakes, unmanned aircraft sightings, wildfires, mudslides.
Wow.
I just have a couple of quick comments. I assume standard incident command structure, we're an operational, and the overlap to the county operations is, I assume, addressed in there somewhere or discussed. And the reason I say that is if there was a train wreck in Ulster, that would concern us. And, the county would have some responsibility and we would have some responsibility.
In the, Ulster County would open up their own EOC. And then we'd have a representative there.
Okay.
And then he or she we would open up, because it was right in the town of Ulster, we'd open up our EOC also.
Right.
Because of how close proximity to it.
Right.
And then they'd be in direct contact with each other.
Right. Is that a hazard assessment in Bartlett?
It is annexed into it, it is appended
Appendage
into
to
it.
our appendix?
Yes, to our,
Okay.
and then that way we can continually update this, municipal emergency preparedness analysis, that basically re-rank things, like we didn't get earthquakes, was a big deal, and now we've had like a couple, so that got higher.
Right.
So it's appended in there, but as the chief said, this does stipulate that we will update this plan every year. Probably won't have that much diversion from year to year, except for like updating the phone numbers and like if we get equipment and that kind of thing. But if we do want to rerun the hazard analysis, the hazard analysis is more than just us sitting around being like, what do we think is scary? What's going to hurt us? We, like all of us, a lot of us,
Yeah.
like several dozen staff sat down and we had to rate everything based on the potential of it happening, the like planning for it, and where is everything? Where's the structure of it? We had to rate everything. Oh, here it is. We had to rate things based on planning, organization, equipment, training, and exercise. So like, have we planned for it? What would be our capacity to respond if it did happen? Are we trained to respond if this does happen? Do we have the equipment? All those different things. And so all different departments sat and weighed in on it. We gave numbers, and then they read the numbers and they said, oh, this is red, and your highest is,
I have.
So your annual update will be, it's necessary, I'm glad you have it in there, things like your equipment's gonna change, personnel's gonna change, lots of things could change. So you'll have an annual update day each year. How exciting is that?
It's in there by, March 1st?
The staff and all the staff and departments and agencies would review their roles and procedures by February 1st. And then the plan, and then this team that would be given by the chief to update this plan would revise it by March 1st of every year. Although we didn't stipulate whether it needed to be annually adopted, I would surmise that the answer would be no, but that's really probably up
An
to you.
update is, right, an update is not an adoption. Once it's adopted, if you're just updating it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So someday you'll do
Major
tabletop exercises and everything?
That's in there.
Okay.
Is that exercises?
Actually,
Yeah. So, we did have to include, actually in appendix 11, there's a list of all the trainings that we've done. Obviously, I haven't been involved in emergency management for a while, but now I'm ICS 300 level trained. And a number of other personnel have been trained and continue to do training. We have to include what other trainings that they come out as well, so that's in there.
So my question is around public education and how we get the public ready for these things. When I think about Asheville, North Carolina, where did a hurricane rank on their hazard analysis, right? Like this thing, this tragic event, catastrophic event happened and completely unprepared. So just curious.
I mean, hurricane or severe weather, it's, you know, we look at that and almost like the same. Tornado will be different, but severe weather, you know, is hurricane. See, severe weather be flat line.
Right. But
You know, so.
so as we do this plan, what will be for any of the different scenarios? Are we going to have any public education around it? Or where people should sign up before something bad happens?
There
Or
was a, it's right next door here, there was, where we have brought the Red Cross in for public speaking on how to be prepared for typical disasters that may occur in Northeast. That was brought up once.
We also have set up, on the main page of the city's website, a disaster preparedness site. So kingston-ily.gov/disaster preparedness has everything from where all the shelters are, what you do with your boat or your cat or your whatever, before and after. There's evacuation routes, there's phone numbers to call, what to do if you don't speak
Great.
English, how to get an emergency kit, services, all that is on the main page of the city's website.
okay, thank you.
I have one last insight kind of thing. Debris removal is always overlooked and terribly painful, and I hope you've considered it.
Yeah, so the
Oh,
county,
yes. Okay.
the county actually just reached out to myself and Ryan Cohen of Department of Public Works about a month ago. They are developing a debris removal plan, which they haven't had. They see us as a major role player in that, I would as well. And so we are sort of co-writing their plan, trying to understand how we would open or not open our transfer station in that matter. Would we be taking natural or non-natural debris, that sort of thing. So from the management plan perspective, that is literally in the works. From an equipment perspective, that was a big lens that we were looking through. We were thinking about equipment because we were thinking about equipment, not only from the point of like, okay, we have a loader in parks, or we have a loader in DPW. What role can a loader play that would not normally be a loader's role? Or like we have vans at parks that we normally use for like programming, but they're mass moving vehicles. We have to move a mass amount of people. What vehicles do we have to move a mass amount of people? What vehicles or what tools what toys does each department have? And we categorize them by the role that they could play in an emergency. So that was the lens of like things like debris removal were part of that. So yes, we are part in this developing of this plan with the county. By default, then we will have a debris removal plan as well.
So just to take it one step further, how much thought's been put into this for removal, especially flooding, where we have to remove people from flooding, and there's a large quantity that they can't all fit in the Zodiac boat. We can call more boats in, Or DPW, we could use one of their dump trucks, because the area takes way high, due to the flooding. And then we went one step further and figured, okay, how are we gonna get them up in there, and how are we gonna get back down in there? You know, we could use their 10-wheel dump truck and probably pull 20 people from point A to point B, but we got 20 people up there, we gotta get 20 people back down. And, you know, so Ryan and I already figured it out, how we're gonna do that. You know, so we just kept spitball, what about this, what about that? What about the 10-wheeler? See, because then, I mean, the 10-wheeler, a dump truck, they're enclosed. Right, I don't like, you'll see on television, you see people being moved in the front end loader in the bucket as, you know, it's going through the water. You ever see that now?
I've seen it,
Don't
yeah.
do that.
It's not, it's like, it's not ideal, they're not secured, in there. And, you know, there's up like there's knees, the bucket, the height of the bucket, where the dump truck, it's only the back of the dump truck, it's up there.
Hmm.
You know, they're contained, and we can move them, and then we can move them back down and off of it. So a lot of thoughts been put into what we have right here. Can we call special equipment? Yes, we can. When's it gonna get here? Good question. But we have equipment here too, that we just gotta think out the box a little bit. And, you know, a dump truck and a fire truck going together. So we weren't using ladders and having people climb up and climb back down. So, and handicapped people, we go, get one step further and how we get them up. So, there's lots of put into the plan. And
Yeah.
the city we had the ice storm, we had Irene, we had Sandy, you know, we've had a couple incidents that the city survived, obviously, but we also learned from that. When the ice storm, we talked about the debris removal, that was DPW, and that was all the trees that were down in Plymouth and everything. So they were experiencing some of that, you know, so we talked about it before, after the ice storm, you know, what we need, what DPW needs, what PD needs, and how do we come about that? And that's where all the ELC comes in, with all departments have a representative there saying that, okay, we need access to get in first. You know, we can't do anything unless we can get in. How are we gonna do that? PD, you need to secure a block or 5-block radius, you need to secure it somehow. How you gonna do that? Central Hudson, someone would have we have Central Hudson's number and the confidential numbers. We need this whole grid turned off. How are we gonna do that? And that's just informing, again, going back to our plan of informing the public, we're gonna turn this whole grid off, we're gonna kill all of uptown. But we have to, in order to quickly get in there and remove stuff. So we can gain access to them. So, a lot of thought into it, and time coming, long time coming, but I believe. And then the other one with the FEMA, as far as getting FEMA to refund from FEMA, that is a lot of work. And if we don't have the people in place at the beginning of the incident, then it's a lot of backtracking and you miss out on collecting everything. You'll miss out on things.
Well, it's definitely a lot of work. It's a large document. I just want to say thank you for working on this. Hopefully,
So when do
we don't need.
So what's the time
yeah,
frame?
when do we adopt it? I want to read it.
I skimmed it, but I will read it more thoroughly.
The timeframe.
So there is no actual like mandated timeframe on a comprehensive emergency management plan. It's great if you do it soon. The Ulster County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan needs to be adopted if we want the funding as soon as possible. The sooner the better if there's going to be a major storm. It has to be adopted within a year if we want to get in under this.
Should we adopt before the county? County hasn't adopted it, right?
The county I don't know what their process is.
Like, is there one that's more urgent that we adopt than the other? Would that be the FEMA one as opposed to our own? What would be the recommendation in terms of
If you
adoption?
didn't want to do them on the same timeline, I would recommend the counties first.
Okay, that's the annex.
I would think the first.
The counties is tied to direct federal funding.
Let's see, together.
I would say do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, Michael?
I'm sorry, I do have one last question. Do we have is it in the plan there, if, emergency 911 ever got cut out? Like a scenario for that?
Emergency 911, they'd have to take out both Ulster County and Highland. So as far as losing things.
But we don't have the Highlander one yet, though.
That's the backup to Ulster County.
Oh, okay.
Ulster County has the capability of switching everything over to Highlander, both radio traffic and, telephone. So there's a backup, there's that. And then they can, again, talk to us by radio or by paging system.
They're all the same radio, right?
No, we're on 800 by ourselves. That's the whole city, but there's another good part of the plan in there, in talking about communication, there's always something about communication, no matter what you read about. City of Kingston's on 800,
Both police and fire?
police, fire, DPW, rec, water department, everybody's on 800. So depending on what you have in the affordable, like for me, I can talk to everybody except the water department. I just don't have.
That's good. I mean, 9/11, everybody was on different,
Right.
yeah.
Right,
Town
right
zones.
here, it's nothing more than, that, what town you talk to, and getting all the players involved, that if fires call the rec department, answer them. Because obviously they want something from you. The rec department's calling fire, answer them good. But that's just getting all players through the training, through the exercises, getting all the dispatchers that would be brought in to KPD dispatchers, DPW dispatchers, rec, go through DPW, the communication, and ourselves, that we talk amongst the city and nobody else hears. But we have communication.
But we don't have communication with the county necessarily or with others.
The county, they have right on the radio.
Okay.
So we can communicate with county and down in Highland, we communicate with them. And our radio system is actually designed where you can go direct, where you can go like a walkie-talkie. If the power's right there, the repeater goes down, which is over at Snake Hill. Then we can go to direct, it's called direct radio, which means now you can talk from my radio to your radio. You go into your, antenna. So it's getting too far away.
Well, if I understand what you're speaking, then I would move that we adopt the annex tonight.
Why not both?
I thought you all wanted time to read the city.
That is the annex, right? The city.
No,
No,
Well, the annex is.
It's a second.
The federal one that has the money tied to it.
federal one is.
You don't think you'd have time before caucus
To what, for Congress?
to read it?
You think you could read through the city?
I think I can go through the city before caucus, yes, well, I don't have any problem.
You already have.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, then I'll change the motion to, I move that we adopt the two plans tonight.
All right, well, we have two separate committee reports.
Okay,
I would recommend doing them separately.
Yeah.
Just for the sake.
Yeah.
well, then the.
We should
first.
discuss the,
So I move that we adopt the city emergency plan.
motion. Okay. Second? All right, so this is a resolution of the Common Council adopting the comprehensive emergency management plan dated September 2024. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Okay, that's agents here.
Passes 5-0.
Then I move that we adopt the annex.
Did we discuss it? Was there anything else that needed to be explained in there, or?
No, I mean, in practice, I believe you're actually adopting the entire plan, of
Okay.
which the annex is specific to Kingston. You might want to see how the wording is in the resolution, might state it in the resolution.
Yeah, resolution of the city of Kingston adopting the Ulster County 2024 hazard mitigation plan dated May 10th, 2024. All right. So you can make a
I move
motion.
that we adopt it.
Okay. Second?
Also, do it.
Okay, it's a resolution of the city of Kingston adopting the Ulster County 2024 hazard mitigation plan dated May 10th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for all your hard work.
May we never.
So I am the person not running the
Yeah.
meeting, but I'm not gonna hang out. There shouldn't be any issue,
Oh,
because you're not all in the meeting. And so I'll keep checking in, make sure, I don't see anyone check, I don't know that you're not who's expecting anyone else remotely, right?
I think we are.
Well, yeah, well. Hold on one second.
I'm sorry. Oh, would you like me to say this? I will.
No skin off my bone. No.
We're good.
Okay, staying if you need me to stay.
No, we're good. We
If you
can,
need
we're,
to go
if we
to
need to,
executive session,
if
you
we
can
need
do
to, we have the phone, like I have that, the number and everything ready to go.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got flyers here, I like reading.
Oh.
I want to read about the taters, I like reading. Yeah, this is the box.
And does that travel with you to the emergency center when you?
No, it happens to be the firehouse.
I think you need a nicer box. A fireproof box.
Yeah, budget season is coming up, you might want to slip that in.
I heard I could buy something like that. Okay, have a good night, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so, third on the agenda is, Pike Plan Seeker. John Simpson?
Yes, I think John will speak. I'll introduce him.
Oh. So do we have to unmute him or does he then?
I think he has the power on you, so.
John, are you there?
He's muted.
He is muted. He should be able.
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Just had to wake up.
Joel's best things.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me see. Maybe I can even get the camera to work. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so I can intro.
John, you're muted again, right?
He just muted himself.
Okay, okay, I'm back. Sorry. You usually do this on the laptop and I'm trying it on the phone, so. Yeah, good evening. Sorry for any confusion. The first step in the Pike Plan seeker process would be for the Common Council to declare intent to seek lead agency for this action. So that's really all that we're here for tonight. And if the Common Council does do that, then we will start a process of preparing a environmental assessment form and circulating that for a coordinated review among interested agencies. But the first step tonight would be just what we're asking for is the intent to seek lead agency.
Ready?
John, would there be another natural body to do this, or is the Common Council the one?
It's in my opinion, the only one. We are both, in this case, the applicant, who, is seeking to do the project, and also the lead agency. And, that's typical for a city initiated project.
Good, thanks.
So the applicant in this case is the owner, and the owner is seeking lead agency position
Because it's our action.
because it's our action, but there could be another lead agency. That could be.
Well, right. So once the council declares intent, other interested agencies, which could be other governmental bodies, either at the state or other locals, could object. I don't think that's likely to happen, but they will. They are notified and they have I believe, 20 days in which to object to the city being lead agency.
Michael?
Yes, I apologize if this is a silly question, but why would we be the lead agency over, say, your department or planning or DPW?
Right. So a department can't be a lead agency. A department is a governmental body. In this case, the city and the common council.
Okay,
If I could, maybe I can clear it up. The only agency that can act as a lead agency is what they call an involved agency. Those are agencies that have ultimate decision-making authority. So, for example, like if you referred this to DPW to ask them for an advisory opinion, they are only an advisory role. They don't have an absolute authority. In this case, the council has the absolute authority, and that's why you're an involved agency. The only agency that can object to you being involved would be another involved agency. So, for example, if you were seeking funding to take, undertake the action, then that lending or that funding agency is involved, and they could ask to be lead agency. If there's a dispute, the DEC decides, or the DEC may take on the role. But an interested agency cannot object to you being lead agency.
thank you, I really appreciate that.
Okay?
Any other questions?
So, yeah, just have that session.
So at this time, I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session, for a discussion regarding current litigation.
Yeah, so this is pursuant to Public Officers Law 105D, discussions regarding pending or current litigation, specifically related to pending litigation
I know.
Take that.
with the county, filed in the county of Ulster. It's index number EF 2024-2258, 306 Wall Street Owners LLC, and others versus the city of Kingston. So that would be the official motion that's being made now. Is there a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, so now resume the open meeting.
Sean, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
How's it going?
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead now and just read the resolution, and then we can enter in discussion and see if there's any more questions, okay? So this is a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, declaring intent to seek lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review seeker for a project to demolish the Pike Plan canopies located on Wall Street and North Front Street. Whereas the city proposes to demolish the Pike Plan canopies, which are owned by the city and located on Wall Street and North Front Street, known as the project. And whereas after reviewing 6 NYCRR 617.4 and as required by 6 NYCRR 617.6A1A4, the city has initially preliminarily identified that the project is an unlisted action under seeker 6 CRR NY 617. And whereas, although not required for an unlisted action, the city has determined that a full environmental assessment form, full EAF, should be prepared, and the city will prepare a full EAF summarizing potential environmental impacts that may result from the project. And whereas notwithstanding that 6 NYCRR 617.6 does not require coordinated review for unlisted actions, The city nevertheless intends to seek lead agency status under seeker and to conduct a coordinated review of the project with all potentially involved and interested agencies for the purpose of making a determination of the environmental impact and significance of the project and any other seeker requirements necessitated thereby. And now therefore it be resolved by the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York as follows. Section 1, that the Common Council of the City of Kingston hereby declares intent to be lead agency under seeker 6 CRR MY 617.6 with respect to the seeker review for the project. Section 2, that the Common Council of the City of Kingston hereby directs the coordinated review of the project by interested agencies to commence, and that necessary steps are taken to prepare lead agency notices with the necessary attachments and materials to circulate to the potentially involved and interested agencies in compliance with 6 NYCRR 617.6. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately. So this is what is before us tonight for us to vote on to take lead agency status under the seeker. And so is there any questions? Rennie?
No questions. I make a motion that we adopt the resolution. It's written.
I'll second
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read the committee report. The city engineer requests the Common Council to consider and adopt a resolution declaring its intent to seek lead agency status for the action under the Seeker Environmental Quality Review Act, Seeker. And this is saying seek lead agency. All right, everyone in favor? Vote.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So it passes 4-1. All right, thank you. Thank you, John.
Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye, John.
Hey.
All right. Bar soup. Yeah, so we're going on to old business. Item number 1 under old business is food truck regulations with, put before us by Alderwoman Edwards. I believe that something was going to start getting drafted or?
Yeah, so I can give you an update. So basically, there is, the initial draft has been provided to Sue. There's discussions about, or not to Sue, I'm sorry, I was just talking to Jeannie Edwards. And there have been discussions pertaining to regulations allowing for food trucks on park property as well. So it does need to be reviewed by Lindsay, the head of the Parks and Rec Department, Lindsay Timbrook, for her input and suggestions. Hoping to have a final draft presented for the next law and rules meeting, with all of that input being taken into consideration for that draft. So I guess for the purposes of here tonight, just table till.
Table till November. Okay, great, thank you. All right, number 2 is the Ethics Task Force recommendations. This, we are also going to table tonight. President Shaw is not able to be here, and we need to have a copy that we can compare, a red line copy that we understand the changes. So, so we're going to table that as well. And then next up, we have resolution 156 of 2024.
This is the landmarks preservation resolution.
Yeah, this is the administrative code.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, there's two things this, or,
Is for the form-based code to amend the form-based code to update the Landmarks Preservation Commission's administrative functions. Yeah, it was something that they did not have an opportunity really to delve into in depth before the form-based code was adopted. So now that once we had the full-time historic preservation administrator, we had an individual that could spend the time and focus on updating the code to bring it into, bring it up to date. We removed a portion of the code, I think he already did that, that duplicated and conflicted. We've removed other conflictions, we've clarified things, and we're using some language that is more widely recognized in the historic preservation community.
Both statewide and federally as well.
sorry, but in the packet, it said still 158, so I just got
Oh,
confused for a second, sorry about that. Okay.
So I believe you have both the local planning board and the county planning board's comments, both endorsing it.
Yep.
Obviously, Landmarks endorses it.
I didn't. So if anyone has any other questions.
Yeah, I'm just writing up the committee report, so if anyone wants to direct questions, just
So in the HLPC code, there's reference made to pipeline and design standards.
For the pipeline?
And design standards. Okay, and that have to change some.
No. It will, demolition will, yes.
Okay, so then you have to come back and have that.
Yeah.
And it looks like Ulster County did not really have any comments, other than just approving it. Is that correct from looking at this form? Yeah. No
Most
county
of the
impact.
county's comments are just.
No county impact.
yeah, okay.
That's it should be in, I thought I saw it in the packet.
It is in the packet.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see what they actually checked.
Oh,
The
okay.
boxes are there,
Oh, okay. I don't.
but there are little symbols in there that, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's hard to see whether it's, but anyway, it was approved. Yeah.
All right, so can I get a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the committee report. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, updating and revising section 405.26L Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, so that was basically on there twice. Great. The agenda.
No, I think the
We still
resolution
have-
158 is a different resolution. That's at the end. Oh, I guess, yes. and they did
Yes,
referral.
3 and 4 seem to be related.
Yeah,
Yeah, 4 does.
4 is the
appear to be.
referral.
Yes.
okay, all right,
3 and 4.
I'm not losing.
No.
All right, so we're going to move on to number 5, amending chapter 346 of the code, sidewalk cafes, Alderman Tierney.
Speak on it. You'd like to share.
Do you guys have it in your packet online?
It was in
It's also
the.
online.
Yeah, it's here.
It was in the one that was on the city's agenda.
I don't know, some of this
Yeah,
is
they-
missing from my
what happened is
packet.
they did 2 separate packets.
Oh,
one
oh,
for
right,
new business
okay.
And the other for old, so
Right,
I can
okay.
distribute the old business
Okay.
packet.
All right. Okay. All right, so we were taking out, so we were amending some language in chapter 346 of the city code, which addresses sidewalk cafes. And we had a request from Alderman Tierney to request the language to amend section 34631 of the city code. And the language, so what we're doing is repealing language so that the code will read as follows. In the event that the sidewalk cafe outdoor seating area will be extending onto a neighboring property, the operator must submit with the site plan the written consent of the neighboring property owner and tenant. Okay, so I'm just gonna write up this committee report. If there's any discussion you guys want to talk about or ask questions?
Yeah, what's the purpose here?
The language is separate from what's here in the packet.
The purpose of this follows that it seems like in practice, our requirement of having the property owner require outdoor cafes for our tenant businesses means that they have deleteriously used it as a leverage tool to increase their tenants' rents.
But that's separate from what you read, Michelle.
Yeah,
Because we're removing the section of the code, so it'll be read
To be immediate.
to remove the section.
so that section was already there then, about.
It's removing the requirement of the property owner of the business.
Right, the part about the 30,
If it goes
Good.
into neighboring property, that's already in there. So it's just removing the section related to,
The executive order reads, in order
Yes.
for outdoor dining to continue effectively, a section of language in our sidewalk cafe code needs to be reworked. And it's reworked as follows. Effective immediately, Kingston City Code, section in the event that the sidewalk cafe outdoor seating will be operating in a rental space, the operator must submit with the site plan a written consent from the owner of the property. Oh, will be suspended.
yes, yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, this is following on the executive order that Mayor Noble passed earlier this year and indicated he would continue to do so in perpetuity.
Okay.
So rather than do that, we changed the
Fix
code.
the law.
Yeah,
And I do want to thank Council Jankowski for his work on this. It was extremely helpful.
You're
All right, so this is an ordinance amending the language in chapter 346 of the Code of the City of Kingston sidewalk cafes. And it'll be amended as attached. Can I get a motion?
motion.
Second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, next we are going on to, discuss chapter 96, planning board statute. This has come before us a couple of months ago. Sue, about, changing the makeup of our planning board.
I just
Yeah.
wanted a chance to talk.
Yeah, thank you. So, come to the table.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, just discuss this, with the committee. First, I did, we unfortunately haven't had the chance to have this discussion at a full planning board meeting. So I did circulate the proposed language to my board members, and I'm getting a mixed bag of reactions from them. A lot of them are just asking why. I looked at the code myself, and I was kind of surprised it didn't say that the board members had to be residents. I guess it's just always been assumed that you have to be a resident of the city of Kingston. So obviously, I don't know if you're familiar with what our process is. We certainly try and vet planning board members when there's a vacancy as widely as we can, through various channels. And when we do get applications, we don't just take the first application that comes through the door. We wait for a few to come in, and then we look at them. I meet with them personally first before making any kind of a recommendation to the mayor's office. I look for a variety of issues when I'm talking to prospective planning board members. I look at, geographically, where do they live, where do they reside? Because obviously we don't want, all of our board members to be from downtown. We don't want them all from uptown. We want diversity. I look at their gender, I look at their ethnicity, I look at their age, I look at what they do for a living. I think that's important. Right now, I don't have any vacancies, but in a next member, I'd love to see somebody who is bilingual. We don't have anybody on our board that has that capability. And I think that would be something I would personally be looking for in a new member. I talk to them about what their interests are. Have they served on other commissions? I let them know right out of the gate what I expect of them, in terms of meeting participation, and attendance. And going, that there are site visits, that there are special meetings, that there are educational requirements of them that are state mandated, that they're going to be required to do. So, I don't want them to have any surprises. We talk about, the requirement that they're going to have to, learn certain codes. And, we talk about maps. Have you ever looked at a map? Do you know what a map, have you looked at a map? And, because they have to, literally, we rely on the board members to go online and look at all of the application materials well in advance of the meeting when they're posted. When we encourage them to do so, we do a lot of, internal review work, and we do a lot of back and forth with the applicants directly, as well as interagency reviewing. So, I'm looking for members who can bring to the table, something that is not currently represented on my board. I don't my one concern, and I totally understand the residency, whether it's a homeowner or a apartment tenant. And I get that. We've had both on our board. We've had people who have come into the community and have been renters. They've wanted to participate in the community. They've applied, they've become, a couple of them are still on my board, excellent board members. They've since bought their own homes. What my fear in putting it into a code would be that I might exclude another individual who might have something that I really feel can be brought to the board that's missing from my board. I would like to maybe think about and propose some ways that we can work together to try and achieve what this is hoping to achieve. And I get you want representation, and I do too. There's no question about that. I want a diverse board. I think that's a better decision-making board all around. I personally love it when my board members start talking, and deliberating. I think that's healthy. And it brings up questions that maybe we at staff level haven't put out there. So, I think that maybe we could look at other ways to advertise for board members. I'm open to a lot of suggestions. Typically I know it goes out, they go out in the board, in the mayor's newsletter. We certainly are out there asking. I talk to different groups. If I think that there's an element that I'm looking to achieve, I might reach out to a certain group and say, hey, we have an opening. Anybody within your group interested, or do you know anybody? I would love to have a teacher, somebody from the school district on my board. I can't seem to get that hole filled, because I think that's important, having the representative of our educational system there. So there's a lot of things I'd like for board members. I hope that, they bring not just one feature with them, but they bring a couple different areas of expertise. So I just kind of wanted to come and talk to you about, what we do and how we really go through the process. I think it's a well-rounded board. Right now, we have 8 members, 5 full sitting, 3 alternates. They all seem to be very engaged and interested. I had some of my staff, just to see. I did have some of my staff call other communities locally throughout Ulster County and outside. So we did the cities of Beacon, Newburgh, and Poughkeepsie to see if they had a similar, policy and how it was done. We called Rosendale, Saugerties, both the town and the village. We called Rochester, Ulster, town of Ulster. Couple other towns in there. Hurley was contacted. So Esopus we couldn't get a hold of. So, we tried to see what other communities were doing. And none of them, they all have residency requirements. Some of them have age requirements, which I wouldn't put in there either. I would love to have, if a high school student came as a resident of Kingston and said, I'd like to be on your board, I'd talk to them. I would not say no. I don't think that that's, I just don't feel that that's appropriate. If they can show me that they, have the ability, they have, a level of, given their young age and maturity, they have the communication skills. I wouldn't say no to a high school student. That was the only, I think Hurley was the only one within 18, must be 18. All of them have residency requirements, but none of them did have, that you had to be a property owner, homeowner, or whatever. We have on our board a mixed bag of people. We have small business owners, we have government, we have representation, arts, we have arts representation. So it's a good mixed bag. of people. I just kind of wanted to put that out there. I understand, housing is a big component of what we review, but it's not the only thing we review. So just wanted to.
So I just a question, because we were also speaking about the stipends, so if we were to do something like the stipend, would that help?
It was interesting, a couple members said they're not, the stipend wouldn't be a determining, again, if it's
Okay.
a nominal stipend. And again, the other thing that some people raised is why just the planning board? They don't
Yeah,
want,
no, I know.
that made them a little nervous too, that the planning board's being focused in on, so.
Good point.
I think if you are looking at putting a policy together, it should be across the board. All boards and commissions, I think, should be representational of the community, that they're serving. And, so I think there is, some truth for that. But they, the ones that did reply about the stipend said that wouldn't be a determining factor for them, because it would probably be a nominal fee and it wouldn't really.
One person.
That's not why they want to be board members to get, and I wouldn't,
They're not doing it for the money.
huh?
They're not doing it for the money.
No.
We can relate.
So I just wanted to share my thoughts, that's all. I mean, I don't know how urgent this is, but, obviously, we don't have a vacancy right now on the board. We have a couple of terms that are up, but, and I don't know if the mayor's waiting on this legislation or not, but I think if we put a hard push out there for members, like I said, there's some, if a new member were coming in, one thing that I really would like to see right now is a bilingual individual. And I don't, and that's what I would kind of try and focus on. Because I think there's a real need for that, particularly when we're dealing with some, businesses that are looking to establish, and I think it would be helpful.
So, but what would it, so say we legislated that one, person is to be bilingual and we don't get someone, then aren't we?
Well,
Yeah,
In a pickle.
What if I speak Latin?
Yeah.
Or French. And yeah, the question always is how specific do you get and how general? And I think just a diversity that represents the community, the community may be language that we can, that's general, but also specific to each community in which that policy might occur.
Michael?
I do think that the planning board is different, though. You guys have a significant more amount of power than an advisory. You're not an
Yeah.
advisory board.
Right.
You have this authority, and, boards in the county regularly have these kinds of restrictions, not restrictions, qualifications. I think that, and for the sort of city that we're trying to plan to build for the future, in a city in which we are majority renter, I think it is fair to have a renter seat, renter representation. Are there any current renters as full voting members?
Not right now, no, the two that were renters have actually, one just bought maybe a year ago.
And I think that's a good thing to include in any policy where they're not kicked off the board, but whoever is
Oh, I would hope not.
Next.
No, I would hope not.
the,
Yeah, that's
fill
so
that
I was gonna buy a house, but then I
Yeah.
made my place on.
on the planning.
No, that would not be.
That was my $100.
Yeah,
So what if we had language though that was about what was preferable? So that we would prefer that the planning board, to the extent possible, represented Kingston in terms of economics, ethnic, just
Homeowner rental status.
so that it's not
age.
pigeonholing in terms of a specific
I
position.
mean, to have somebody who is Spanish speaking would probably be very helpful. I mean, we were, this is an aside, Landmarks Preservation Commission, we were having a meeting and we knew that the applicants spoke Spanish, and they did have one of their children there to act as an interpreter. But it's a child. It was like a 10-year-old child trying to talk to a room full of adults. It was a little intimidating, I felt.
Well,
But
I'm sure
our
they were taking over such a
chairperson
class in
spoke-
sixth grade.
Without my knowledge, I had no idea he was fluent. Started speaking Spanish. And it was amazing how the review process went after he started just doing that back and forth. He was able to do the interpretation, and it really made it just opened my eyes to, we should have this almost on every board.
Yeah.
Does the city have any sort of Spanish language translator?
Yeah,
Because
we
that
do.
might be a very-
In City Hall, there are people that do speak Spanish, so if we get applicants coming into the office, we do have the ability to call one of them
Oh,
and ask them to come down and assist. And that's helpful, in the office. But when you get to the boards, you don't have that all the time. So it's,
I wonder if it would be possible to have that available.
If you don't live in Kingston, can you work in Kingston and be qualified?
that, I always thought you had to be a resident. I never really knew that.
I'm saying in terms of
It wasn't
opening up
a
the-
requirement. I always thought you had to be a resident of Kingston to be on the board.
So if we were to put a residency restriction in, do you think that would be an
I
issue?
think there is a residency, let me just double check the,
It
Like,
does,
does it have to
it
close
doesn't
down
say
the board?
resident though, does it, now?
what section are we looking at?
We don't have the whole thing here.
Planning board 96-1, 96-1. Or so. That might actually be previous. Yeah, it's 96-1.
There's municipalities like Town of Ulster, but they pay City of Kingston school taxes.
Yeah.
Would you therefore be qualified?
And that's a school district, that's not the city. So the town of Ulster, the places, Hurley paid city school district, but that's because they provide
Right.
those children go to the city of Kingston or the Kingston.
Which would
School
mean that you would
District.
therefore be interested in what's.
I
going
would,
on.
I would say that would qualify if you pay school taxes in another community, that qualifies you for the planning board. I really think you should be a resident. I do.
I think
I
so,
feel
too.
that's appropriate. Yeah.
Even owns a business. Somebody owns a business in Kingston but doesn't live here? I'm a residency guy, but
Well, if it was like a property owner, like say they own the building
Right.
and have business in the building, then.
Yeah, I mean, we, right now, we have, a small business owner, on our board. She's a resident, she's a small business owner, so there are business owners and there have been.
Right, but like if, say they
I don't
lived in the
think
town of
that's a-
Esopus but owned a building with a business in the city of Kingston.
I'm just kind of thinking of a person that would be eminently qualified, like they have a degree in urban planning and they live in the town of Hurley. And they're interested in being on the planning board, that they
I
therefore be
would,
disqualified.
I think that I personally feel they should be a resident if they're gonna be on a local planning board. I do.
Because they experience the
That
results of their
I feel
decisions.
very strongly about. I think, the city of Kingston has quite a large pool of,
Talent.
I think, candidates that would be great members. It's hard, sometimes just connecting with them.
With like a public information session, like where you
Yeah.
give a little talk or you invite people and somebody to explain it or.
Yeah, I'd be open. I mean, I think, there's a
Mayor's
lot
radio show.
of ways to do outreach and, yeah.
but you're full right now. There's 2 expired terms.
We're full right now, we have full board. There are 2, right now that, are,
Let's do that.
And up, when
Gonna be
do
up this
when do
year.
their terms up?
they are up.
Oh, they're up now.
Expired.
And how many current applications do you have?
I don't have any, because we really haven't advertised,
Gotcha.
you know, we haven't, you know, typically we would.
But this isn't a board that necessarily hurts for members, like you get
No.
applicants.
Yeah, no.
So Matt's saying we do not have
Yeah, there's
a residency.
nothing in chapter.
Yeah, no, I didn't, I was kind of surprised that
Which
it,
most municipalities do have at that for.
Yes. yeah, other municipalities definitely say that you need to be a resident. Yeah, and that I think is very much appropriate.
I do too. I mean, we couldn't.
Well, if that's something that you guys think should be, rather than, you know, making one change, then
Yeah.
making, you know, getting, you know, comprehensive changes
I think
to,
so.
you know, what the, makeup composition for the board is going to be, and just doing it once.
Yeah,
I think doing it once makes sense.
I was just playing devil's advocate.
So do you want to then table this till next month, and
Yes.
is there anything other than considering adding a residency requirement? And is this something you want, a residency requirement or a property ownership requirement, or either
No.
resident,
I
okay.
think we're doing residency.
I think
Residency.
Could we switch this other one to make people on the planning board pay the city for the?
I don't think so.
And the residency requirement, if I moved to Kingston last week, is that okay? Or is there like a tenancy, like a tenure?
no, if you are a resident for a month, I would I would talk to you.
Still here.
I mean, I don't hold like the time against the
And
person.
is this something where the residency requirement, once someone moves out, then they can no longer serve on the board? That would,
I would
Yeah,
say.
I would say yes.
Especially next to her.
So you said earlier that there was some stuff that the mayor wanted or was thinking about, and we should circle back with him, or?
Well, no, he's not doing any appointments until he
Okay.
wanted to see how this kind of turned out.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I mean, we were holding off.
okay.
I mean, I do, you know. I would have, you know, I think it's a good idea maybe to establish a policy, you know, and, you know, you can prioritize maybe a little bit that way. But once you put it in the code,
Yeah,
I think the issue becomes that if I have an opening or two openings, and I say I don't have a tenant right now, I have two openings, I get 5 candidates, 2 of them are really super qualified, but they're not tenants. I can't, I'm afraid that I'm gonna, you know, I don't wanna lose a good candidate because they don't meet one specific criteria.
Could we do some kind of like policy with a scoring matrix like that?
Yeah, I'd be open to
So
that.
that, like, we
Yeah.
really are considering those
Yeah,
points.
I would be curious to see what other communities have done, to see if there's anything we can learn from from the
Yeah.
research that you've done.
I mean, and knowing that that's, you know, a desire, it certainly can be something that we would, you know, work to try and, you know, target, like, you know, I would be open to some suggestions on how to do the outreach so that we are really getting the word out to people who might be tenants. I mean,
Mhm.
I could, you know, reach out to the Kingston Housing Authority, I could reach out to RUPCO, I could reach out to, you know, groups like, you know, places like that have, large constituencies or residents that are tenants. Maybe they have an internal newsletter that we could get on, maybe the library, you know, places like that. We could do postings in places like that might help, you know, you as the alderman, you know your constituents that are out there. You know, if you know somebody that's interested, have them reach out.
I like the idea of maybe an information session like geared towards renters at the library, right? Like they do a really good job of getting people in
Yeah,
for information sessions, advertising it.
So I'm wondering too, the efficacy of something like this, there would be a penalty. So, I mean, how would such a restriction be enforced? You know, I mean, I'm saying if that's a problem, because if it's something that can't be enforced, then I don't see. the reason
If
for-
they,
If you have this rule that you have to have one renter and one house and one property owner.
You can end up with a vacant seat for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, do planning board members have to file a ethics disclosure form?
they file
So it'll be
the,
in ethics.
I mean, they file
No, but
the
I'm saying-
financial form
I'm saying
each
for-
year,
for-
but I don't, you know, I don't ask, I mean, we know what their mailing address is.
it's not them, it's the appointing person, because this is about who's doing the appointing, right? The composition shall be, so it's about who's doing the appointing. I'm saying whoever's doing the appointing, what if they flout the rule? There's no punishment that you can mete out to them and say, or.
There can be an Article 78 challenging the appointment, basically that it's in violation of.
Yeah, that's my concern, that you open yourself up to Article 78, that would be not germane to any particular case. It would be due to an administrative rule that we could take care of probably in some other function, some other fashion.
Well, boards do that, we have these qualifications all the time, we were talking last month about the ethics board literally as party requirements. Like, that it's not, it doesn't stop the function of the board to require.
But in this particular case, it could open us up to Article 78 actions that would have no real basis in the specific issue relating to property that's under.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be, the only person would stand at like, basically, it wouldn't affect a project necessarily before the board. It would, you know, basically challenge this person's appointment and then, you know, a decision would be made by a judge basically saying that, yeah, the appointment's invalid because it's not consistent with here, and then be forced to, you know, appoint someone.
Who would have standing to make the challenge?
That's a good question. It could be actually broad, you know, but I would think like in the very least, someone else who was applying to become a, you know.
Doesn't the HLPC have certain requirements of a member has to be like an architect, a one? No.
Not requirements, just suggestions, right? I mean, in terms of.
Our rent guidelines board has done it.
It would be, it's, I mean, I'd love to have an architect or an engineer or a contractor on the board. It's difficult
Yeah.
because there would be a lot of conflict of interest in many cases, you know, where they are, you know, that's the work that they do is what's presented for review.
Right.
So,
Michael?
I wanted to talk about the stipend, but I can wait if we want to finish the discussion on qualifications. Okay,
I don't have anything else, do you? I need about the qualifications, do you want to talk about this?
I
yeah, I mean, if you have any questions, just, you know where
Just
I,
reach out
you know
to
where I
me.
am.
Right.
So to get me.
Yeah, so you want to talk about the stipend now?
yeah, if that's
Okay,
okay.
yeah.
I think it is worthwhile to include a stipend for the planning board because like you said, it's a lot of meetings. You know, childcare is a huge barrier to applicants. I think that would cover some of that. Also the print, I would assume that you go through a lot of documents being a planning board member. I was a zoning board member and it was a lot. So I think the stipend is not necessarily, I don't think anybody would be doing it for a stipend, but I think it would ease a lot of the burden of being a member.
I mean, they are taking government action versus like an advisory committee, yeah,
Like you have responsibilities.
and like the ZBA also, it's governmental action. that
Yeah, I
they take.
mean, obviously, it wasn't, like I said, it's not something, the ones that responded said that is not it wouldn't be a reason for them. You know, it's not, you know.
But I think that's a survivorship bias. They don't need, they really need the
I mean,
stipend,
yeah,
so they weren't turned away by the
A
fact that.
couple people said, do you know what the cost of childcare is?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that might cover 1-2 meetings.
That's
Which,
true.
yeah, would be helpful. I mean, every little bit helps sometimes.
City Hall childcare.
Just going back for a second, for membership for the HLPC, one member of the commission shall be a licensed practicing architect, one member shall be an owner of a city designated building or an owner of a city historic district in a city historic. Correct. The member shall be residents. the time of appointment throughout their membership.
Right.
So, You
And
can.
obviously, the nature of their reviews are, they're reviewing exterior, structural issues, of historic properties. And in many cases, they're talking about architectural features. So having the requirement for an architect to be on that board is valid, I think, in that instance, because they're asking, they're talking terminology, they're talking options, materials, and which our architect on that board is very familiar with, and that is an asset. And having somebody that does own a historic property has a certain understanding of what some of the challenges might be.
right, no, I understand what I'm saying, but in the same way that the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission has designated certain, talents or you can do the same thing, no?
I mean, well, like, for example, too, the tree commission has an certified arborist as one of their required. Again, they're more focused, where I think the planning board is a broader review. They do much more than just one type of review. And landmarks is really focused, tree commission is obviously very focused. I think, and that's I think the difference there.
Yeah, there's a wide range of things that come before the
No, I
planning board.
understand that, but that's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, the planning board is probably one of the most powerful boards. Because it sort of, it gives this, sort of speaks to the direction of the city. And I think that there is room to sort of make sure that people are qualified.
Right.
And so maybe what are some of the skills that you can hit the ground running? So that you're not constant, for your 2-year tenure, you're just basically learning.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to codify it, though. I think that's the difference. I agree with you. I do, and that's, I think, the reason why I spend so much time with individuals that make their applications, to talk to them and really, find out about them, because I want to know what their background is. I want to have a good feeling for their qualifications. I want to make sure they're going to be a good fit into the board, and they're going to bring something that's going to elevate the board. Not repeat something that I might already have on there. Like, I've got an attorney, resident attorney on the board. Do I need another attorney on the board? Probably not, but what else? They might bring something else. I don't know. Yeah, too many attorneys.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, we said we're gonna think about this more anyway, so
Yeah.
folks
Yeah.
can think about the language they want for next time.
Yeah, if anyone has any more questions, you can reach out to Sue in the meantime. Okay.
Okay,
Well, thank you
Thank
for,
you.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
thank you for
Sue,
taking your
don't
time to
worry.
come and talk about your process and all of that.
Yeah.
You have just two rows of the money from Johnson
Oh.
Parkside and the previous meeting.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Could
Thank
you go
you.
somewhere, please?
I guess you can't go to it.
August and September,
Oh,
regarding the changes to the HLPC.
I think attending on the planning board is a good idea.
I think so.
What is it? 60?
Yeah.
I think it's 60%.
That's high.
Which is still less than one of the cities.
Yeah, it's not as much as Newburgh.
Newburgh is 75, it's still the 70.
Oh, a lot
I
of
think
cities.
Beacon's lower.
Yeah, Beacon is lower. But
I
there are a
didn't
lot
know
of
that.
section eight.
Yeah, that's what.
Beacon has a lot of section eight.
Lisa.
But I'd be curious to find out.
Yeah, I saw it on, was it like 5 or 6 o'clock?
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Consider
good. All right, then that's good. Thanks,
It's on the tenants versus home ownership.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
And we're gonna get on tenants.
Okay, as long as she did it,
Well,
so the one
yeah,
thing that we.
But, yeah, the question is just whether you require it and whether requiring
Anyone else
something,
wants to speak?
as we were saying to Sue, puts that in the box, because If you can't get it, then.
I think some of that box is, because I think the tenants do bring it to them.
I'm gonna put it away.
So she must have held the public
I
hearing.
sent you that
Lisa?
thing.
Oh, no.
For the mayor. What the-
You make sense.
the mayor has to-
Yeah.
No,
I'm
no.
also
Oh,
on Friday, so I can actually,
Yeah, this is
They let you out.
I took off.
You can do that?
I did today.
All right.
Well,
Is that because you work nights too? I mean, you
Yeah.
build up a lot of comp time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sometimes it's a
We know that.
vulnerability, use your time.
Oh, yes.
I don't want you to take a year off when you quit.
That's legal.
How did the meeting go last
night? That's the link, that's the.
Yeah, that's to join public hearing.
Oh.
And it was at
Yes, it's still on.
This is.
Okay.
But yes, that passed.
Oh, that's, yeah, no, that's the
Okay, so-
exemptions for the properties.
Okay.
I was wondering about that. I know, I keep
You said
seeing
it before
articles
caucus.
about it.
So, yeah,
You
so.
said it before caucus, yeah.
Okay.
But I think that it was either last one or this one that they approved.
Maybe we're
Traffic light?
motion,
Schedule.
schedule, the local
Good.
laws before the hearing committee.
That'll make a big difference.
Pursuant
I mean, the
to-
traffic lights in here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you can't see, there's a whole place where you just, you know.
So.
State highway, they did just fine.
Motion to,
It's 32.
schedule.
Detroit, it's not a state highway.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know that, I didn't know that was a
I didn't
state.
know that was the thing.
Not that
It's a state highway.
Pursuant to.
That's right,
Well, what's the, like at 4455, is that a state
that's a
highway?
state highway.
I guess we're still being recorded, I just realized.
See, the state highways in the city of Kingston,
Okay.
that's all we have,
And
Nine
five.
Colonel Chandler,
Okay.
and that little piece of Washington.
That little piece of Washington that, until you get up to Hurley, right?
And the piece from, kind of like from the bank up to the.
That's right.
To the bridge.
Yeah, that's right.
What is the wording for the change?
To the bridge, right.
Yep.
Public hearing.
Which-
Yeah, that's-
Colonel Chandler is the shortest interstate in the United States.
That's the straight, when I first, came to Kingston, I was so shocked. What is this?
Yeah.
State highway, they just, that was one place, it's
I
like,
tried to hear it a lot, I tried to hear it. Yeah, what is the state highway? And a big fight with the state police about turnarounds. They wanted
Direct
to
the
U-turn so
city
they
clerk.
could chase people.
Oh.
That's an interstate, I said, I'm not gonna give you a U-turn in the middle of 1 mile interstate. You gotta go to the end.
oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, we shouldn't have done that.
And must have been about funding, right?
How much?
When they built it, well, when they built it, the plan was, see all these great plans. The plan was that at the throughway, you wouldn't have that goofy circle that used to be there. It was supposed to be a direct connect from the throughway, an interchange to Colonel Chandler, which would, on Broadway, which is the. But, so, we put the circle in there as a temporary.
And wasn't the throughway originally supposed to just?
And
be-
August, which is November.
Well, so one of my predecessors, this plan was to have 9W and 9G. 9W would go
City
from
clerk.
New York City to Albany,
Mhm.
with the section pretty much like it is in Kingston.
To publish.
And 9G, you know the piece of 9G that goes by the state troopers?
So
Mhm.
August is.
That was the big one for that side of
You
it.
just did it
Now,
before
it's
caucus.
So you go from New York City to Albany, with somewhere
No,
that
11
access
is Veterans
49
Day, so the
both
12th,
sides of it,
the 12th is the
Didn't work out.
executive council meeting.
Yeah.
but that was the plan.
The Monday before that's the 11th, that's a holiday.
So that was just that they
So
could
it's
just
gonna
take
be
the
the
plaza.
4th. It's
and
gonna be the
turn
Monday,
it
Oh, it's still
toward
is,
Colonel
okay.
Chandler.
I think it's the.
Turn it toward the
Yeah, First
interstate.
is Friday, second,
So
third,
that,
fourth, yeah.
people could come into town and just pop right in there instead of the
There's
twisted
been
way.
conversations about that, about
Yeah,
exit
in the
from Colonel
official
Chandler to the
newspaper.
plaza.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, can you drive by it?
who's gonna pay for it?
It's a pretty big drop, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Figure
Yeah.
that out. You know, but who's gonna pay for it?
Money can fix.
Drawbridge. Drawbridge. So, I don't see that.
From where I live, I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've actually been.
But,
on
yeah.
Exactly.
Can we?
And I live uptown, so I go to Washington to go down.
Yeah.
Right, and I generally do too.
Don't you go into the
Yes, that
city?
way.
Don't you travel?
Then caucus.
But to then get on the thruway or to go west side?
Yeah.
No bicycles like Colonel Chatterjee.
No, it's-
I would not want to ride a bicycle on that.
No.
Council caucus, it's November
Have you, I hesitate to drive on that train. Yeah.
No, it's a nice, I feel that.
She said, "Report." Okay,
Okay.
it's like, no,
That's fine.
Before I moved to Kingston, I used to drive on it a lot because I
Yeah,
had friends
I
who
have
would get
to
on my
learn.
car. So of course I would get off and then
Yeah.
All right.
take 587 and
So-
go right down Broadway.
Great, New York City's first comment on the state.
So I asked you what communications would be due.
I wondered
Which was
what-
in Hawthorne, actually.
They have that absurd statue right in front of where you pull into the county. building.
Caucus says 7, you
Absurd as to law.
6:30.
This is mine. It's absurd. Somebody drove right.
Okay.
All right.
They were, I think,
Yes.
they had a headquarters in Hawthorne, New York, right?
Oh, Hawthorne.
That took care of Long
At
Island,
6:30, and then you just write.
Hudson Valley. They were horseback. They were started by a woman, which is very interesting.
Okay.
That's why they have the school with the purple tie. You know, instead of being like stormtroopers. There was a whole thing about their uniform, and she was quite adamant about it.
She feminized it, is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm saying she got to do it. It used to be the
Yeah.
Wow.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right, so we have, just before we do, the due diligence, I am sorry, there is one more thing, related to 405, 26.26 is we need to schedule a public hearing.
And this is
Because, what we were just voting on with the change, the recommendation revisions to section 405.26. So this is a motion to schedule a public hearing pursuant to 405.26 M5 on the recommended revisions to section 405.26L Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission of the Form-Based Code and direct the city clerk to publish notice in the official newspaper of the city, the date and time to be Thursday, November 7th, 2024 at 6:30 PM before the Laws and Rules Committee. So this is going to be half an hour before caucus that night.
Which I won't be there.
Okay, all right, so can
Make
I,
a motion.
yes,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
favor?
The
All in
motions
favor?
that night could be really hot, really low.
You in favor?
Yeah.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, all right. All right, Alderman Dennison, take it away,
Well,
resolution.
first I want to thank you for sending a copy of a due diligence study to the members of this council. So look in your email, Michelle sent a copy, Chairwoman sent a copy of a due diligence study that was used on the Cooper Lake Dam. The proposal and the study itself, to give you some context.
Okay, I saw it come in, but I didn't have time to look at
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and thought, wait, I'm the chair, liaison to the water board, and I know that they did do one for Cooper Lake, so I thought, well, first they did a feasibility study, and so I thought it would be really good for us to actually see one, because we're just speaking about them in very esoteric terms, and so, yeah.
So the bottom line here is that this resolution would require the city to do a due diligence study for large projects. It does not require the entrance into a PLA if the due diligence study doesn't show it to be a benefit. So this is just a study to see if it's a good idea. And it has been a good idea for Deep Stadium, it's been a good idea for Cooper Lake, it's been a good idea for Wood Street, it's been a good idea for a lot of projects. But it's doing the examination about whether there's savings in cost or schedule adherence, as well as things like relieving us from the Wicks law requirements, which, do you need on what the Wicks law is?
Why don't you just repeat it since,
Okay, the Wicks law is a law that was passed that requires separate contracts for each discipline. So if you let a building contract, you have a general contractor, you have an electrical contractor, you have a plumbing contractor, you have lots of contractors, which complicates the job. It eliminates that requirement. Now, recently, they made revisions to the Wicks law, which raised the threshold, but it's still there and it's still a problem if you're gonna build a work on a building. So it relieves you of that burden if you look at these projects. Yeah, it's large projects, $1 million in labor, not $1 million project, $1 million in labor and above. So that's kind of what we are. I think it's a good idea to do the due diligence study. I think we owe it to the taxpayers to see if it will save us money and save us time. And if it doesn't, we don't have to enter into a PLA.
We pay for the due diligence
We-
study. We, the city.
We, the city,
Okay.
the contractor. I mean,
And so how likely is it that the organization, the agency, the company that's doing the due diligence study would not be in agreement with the city's position? The city's position is usually that it would, but in this case, would want to have a PLA.
Well,
So basically,
It's a numbers thing.
exactly.
If the due diligence study shows that it saves money, then you go. If the due diligence study doesn't,
How often do due diligence studies show that it would not save money?
I've seen that they don't save money sometimes. If it's a project that has a heavy material cost and not a heavy labor cost, resurfacing,
Mhm,
okay? Where you have like limited number of contractors and it's just a lot of production of asphalt.
mhm.
Doesn't really benefit you.
The renovations at the high school, they did a due diligence study and then we came back and said, no. And so they did not have a PLA when they did that really large renovation at the school. Just.
So the
So you
people,
have to have do you have to have a resolution to do a PLA?
that's a good question. I would think not. We did not have to have it for deed trading.
But yet Ulster County had a resolution for the communication center in Newport.
To do a PLA?
To do, yes.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering why we're changing this? Why do we need to change this?
Why do we do a due diligence study?
Well,
I mean, that's the question.
That's a different question.
that's a different question.
no,
but she's
I
still
do
asking
understand that. But what I think is that when you undertake a due diligence study, that you're almost positioning yourself to to do the project, to do the PLA. How much does a due diligence study cost typically?
Well,
Depending on-
depends on the size of the project.
Right, of course.
It's not a huge number. I don't know, what do they pay for Cooper's?
20 to 50,000.
20 to 50.
Well, that's
$20,000 to
still- that's still
$50,000.
We're talking about large projects. We're not talking about.
$1 million in labor is not necessarily a large project. Labor is typically 1/3 of the cost, so, so we're talking about a $3 million project. So for a $3 million project, you're literally going to do this due diligence study, which is gonna have $50,000 or
Right.
20,
The
whatever.
smaller ones are less expensive,
Right.
obviously.
But they are, in my opinion, they're likely to agree with whoever is paying for the study. And basically, you're locking out, I mean, what I heard from the folks that came is that you're locking out a significant portion of non-union shops, like 75% of the construction contractors in the state of New York would be locked out of,
Well,
bidding.
Don't be fooled by the number of contractors that can do big work versus the number of contractors. That's one element that you should think about. The other reason is that, the other thing to think about is the people doing the due diligence study don't benefit from it. They're not labor people, they're not.
Just a point of order, I think we're moved into a discussion that shouldn't happen until there's a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a deliberation, it's not really question and answer specifically. So,
Okay.
I do want to say that at the end of this, document, on page 19 of the due diligence study, there is a long list of completed Mid-Hudson Valley PLAs since 2000.
At the end of the,
Yeah,
The one you provided.
yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the, right, the study, not the proposal.
okay.
And I'm glad that you shared that, because I do really want to look at it to see.
Yeah, it's interesting,
What
because
they,
it breaks it down,
What it is.
everything is broken down, and it gives the, overall savings that this would bring forward, and we did come in, under budget, we did come in, under schedule,
And
so.
what year was that?
Just finished last year, it was a multi-year project, it was a very, very, very large project, so,
19 million?
yeah, yeah.
So, for my part, I can see very, very large projects, that makes sense to me. But at $1 million, at that threshold, you're, and I know we're just talking about the feasibility study, I understand that, but still, we don't have the money to do feasibility studies on projects that small. There'd be so many of them.
Well, we do one a year.
I'm sorry,
We don't do that many in the city.
So,
feasibility studies
No.
or
Projects like
large
this.
projects at large, $3 million.
Yeah, we
Right.
don't do many of those.
All the more reason why,
All right, well, we're deliberating
Yeah,
again,
go
so.
ahead. Would you like a motion?
Yeah, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution and advance it to the common council.
Am I allowed to make a second, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, see, no, why not?
Okay.
Wasn't this approved?
This, they got sent back.
Okay, all right, so just, yeah. Can you budget reflect that?
Okay.
This previous system?
So I'm making a second, so we can enter into discussion.
so then my concern here with this is that there's nothing that stops us now from looking at a PLA on any project that comes up. We can do that. We've done it before. We have, Corporation Council has been going through our books, trying to remove lots of stuff that is, old, that's not really effective. And so it seems like to me, this is a policy that's a good thing to have as a rule of thumb. I don't really see the point though of passing it because it's not, I don't see it as legally binding. If we were setting something up that said any project above $1 million, you have to, that would be one thing. But this is simply advisory, so I don't see the necessity.
and I don't feel qualified to vote, and I still want to read the due diligence study that you sent to get more information.
I'm in favor of it. I like the idea that we're not just gonna jump to a PLA, we're actually gonna, right now, we could just put a PLA on everything. And this, gives us an opt-out of it if we find that it's actually not gonna save money. Michael?
I think I agree with Rennie, but I think the point of codifying policies is important because right now we do have a mayor who values the fiduciary savings of PLAs, but that could change tomorrow. I think we've seen the cost savings that they provide to our large scale projects, and that we should be codifying good policy.
But from my perspective, the cost is one thing, but one of the burdens of government is on-time performance. And, many projects undertaken by the government are late. And PLAs, in my experience, address that,
Yeah, but we had the jail,
which was a disaster.
which is a disaster, which had a PLA, and it was like hugely over budget, hugely behind.
Yep.
So, I'm not, for me, there's two different issues. I don't have a problem with doing a due diligence study per se. The issue that I have is I just don't feel like we need this thing. We don't need to pass this in terms of law.
I agree. And I think it's a waste of money. At this level, at the $1 million level, I just, don't- if it becomes policy, I think it's a waste of money.
I tend to agree also.
But you asked for more time.
You just asked for more time to read them.
So, yes, I'm gonna vote no on going forward and putting it forward to the council at this point.
Well, I'd like to motion to table it so that people read through what I sent today.
First, you're gonna withdraw the current motion.
Yeah.
Okay, and then to a motion to table.
So I make a motion to table.
Yes,
To withdraw, yeah, the
Yeah.
previous motion and
Yeah.
move to table.
well, what had you suggested, that we table it or that we not go forward with it?
I'm not in favor of it, but the question is, since Sarah wants more
It's more
time,
to read, so.
so, I mean, that would mean that the vote would come down to 2 to maybe. So, I'm fine with putting it off for a month.
So should I make a motion to table it?
I don't think
Is that the only
we
motion?
don't really use Robert's Rules of Order, so I think it's okay that we agree that it goes on the whole business, right?
It just stays on old business?
Well, there was a
There is a
previous
motion.
motion.
There was a
that
previous
was on
motion,
tape, and that was-
Adopt, yeah, to
Yeah,
get into
rescinded.
discussion, yeah.
Yeah, so, basically, who put that motion out?
Ready?
And
So Bob-
No, Bob did.
Oh, right, yeah.
Withdrawing your motion,
So,
or-
draw your
Either way, it's either gotta be decided or withdrawn. So there, that.
So if I don't withdraw my motion, we vote on it,
It's gonna,
and it looks like a 2-2, or 3-2.
3-2. right,
I'll withdraw the motion.
okay,
It's a betting man.
And,
and second.
and then you guys are basically moving to just
Table.
table vote, okay. All right, so everyone, I guess you don't
Need an official motion, but make sure the committee report does include the information that, the motion to approve was withdrawn and that the, matter is tabled to the
Okay. All right, it's 8:57. Can I get our motion to adjourn? We've made lots of law and rules. Really?
Did somebody move? I'll second.
Yeah, we voted already. Where are
We
we?
voted already?
We're not even here, Sarah.
Where am I?
So everyone's in favor to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, that's,
it's been so much fun.